Okay, everybody, welcome back to day one, video number 2. I hope that you practiced on your 4 practice problems and were able to work your way through identifying sine, cosine, and tangent in a right triangle. And if not, I'm hoping that you got some help on that. So we can move forward here. Here's our second video. So week 1, second video of our first lesson. I'm going to try to break them up for you a little bit. This video is going to go with practice problem set number 2. So I'm going to try to stay as organized as possible here when we go forward. So you'll have another practice set after this using Khan, which is just 4 practice problems once again. Just show us what you got, see if you can practice a little bit on your own. So for this one, we are going to be using trig ratios. So we are going to use our 3 trig ratios: sine, cosine, and tangent. Use our trig ratios to find a missing side. Now you guys know that you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find a missing side of a triangle, but you need the 2 other sides in order to do it. So our trig ratios are sine, so, cosine, ca, and toa. These can be used if we don't have 2 sides. If all we have is an angle and a side, we can use to find all the missing pieces of a triangle. So for today, we're just looking at the missing side of a triangle because it's a little bit easier. So in our first problem here, we need a right triangle. I'm going to go through 2 examples, so this video will be a little shorter. 2 examples, and then you can try those practice problems. And then you'll be done for concept number 1 for the week. So here's my right triangle. I know it's a right triangle because that angle has been marked. I may or may not need to throw in letters on this one. I will, just for giggles. A, B, C, doesn't really matter. But let's say that we know that angle C is 37 degrees. And we know that the hypotenuse is 12. And we are going to be missing this piece right here. So in your practice problems in Khan Academy, they use these little question marks to show what you're missing. I'm going to say that we are going to be a little bit better than that. If you remember, if we are looking at angles of a triangle, we can refer to this side using a letter. And remember, this side corresponds, this little side corresponds with this little angle, this little acute angle C. So instead of big C, we're going to call this little c. Now again, in Khan Academy, you're just looking for the question mark, but you know, I always like to be better than everybody else. All right, so if I'm going to use this, I'm thinking about my ratios. I can see that I definitely know that I have the hypotenuse. 12 is the hypotenuse, so I know I'm not going to be using tangent. I'm given the hypotenuse, so it's going to be sine or cosine. The piece that I'm missing is all the way on the opposite side of the room from the angle that I'm given. So if it's all the way on the opposite side, I know I've got my opposite. I'm dealing with my opposite side and my hypotenuse. So this is going to lend itself to using sine. All right, so just like in our first practice problems, now I'm going to set up my sine ratio. So this time I have sine of my angle. Now wait a minute, this time I know my angle. My angle is 37 degrees. Sine of 37 is going to be equal to opposite side. Wait a minute, we don't even know the opposite side. Okay, perfect. Maybe I'll use that little question mark they gave me. I don't know what. Divided by, what's my hypotenuse? 12. All right, there you go. If you don't like the little question mark thing, well, fine, put a C in there, put an X in there, I don't care. I'm gonna use a C, little c. We don't know what that is. All right, well, now we have an equation. We have an algebraic equation. We have one unknown, so we need to try to isolate the one unknown. Okay, what's being done to C right now? What do we have to undo? What's being done to C? Well, it's being divided by 12. How do you undo divide by 12? Perfect. Multiply by 12. So I'm going to multiply by 12. Undoes. Which means I have to multiply by 12 on this side. Well, okay, so now I know that that side C, the question mark, is going to be equal to 12 times the sine of 37. All right, decimals time. Now, there is a calculator embedded in your Khan Academy practice problems, and you can absolutely use that calculator. When I was doing the practice problems, I found it much better to use my test mode because, I don't know, I'm used to it. But you can certainly use the Khan Academy. All right, so I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. I started my test mode because I don't want you guys to see all my embarrassing Snapchat pop-ups. I'd be so mortified if you saw what Miss Sayers was snapping at me, or snipping, or twitting, whatever. Okay, so a couple things about doing trigonometry in Desmos, which we haven't done yet. This little tool tells me everything I got going on, but the two things we need for angles is we're looking at degrees or radians. And as we know, our given was given to us in degrees. We will be using degrees this whole 3 weeks. So I'm gonna keep it in degree mode. I just wanted to check because I honestly wasn't really sure. All right, so I know I'm in degree mode and I've already done the thinking. Now all I have to do is I have to evaluate, well, what's 12 times the sine of 37? All right, so I'm just typing in 12. And now I'm gonna go to funcs because all my fun stuff is found in funcs. So I'm going to funcs. And as you know, there's your trig. We've been dealing a lot with miscellaneous to find our logarithms, but trig is right there for you. So I'm just gonna pick my appropriate sine. There's sine. So I'm gonna try to find 12 times the sine of 37 degrees, right there, 7.22. Now wait, before I do anything, I'm gonna look back at my triangle. If I'm looking at this triangle and I have the long hypotenuse side is 12, does it make sense that this little guy could be 7.22? Yeah, of course it does. Now, if I looked at this and I got something like 0.04, you're probably in the wrong mode or you did something wrong. So remember, you always have to make sense of what's going on. All right, I believe the Khan Academy problems for this one will be set up something like side AB. Now remember, I'm looking for side AB is equal to, and then there's going to be a little box here. And that's where you're going to type in your answer on your practice problems. And there's always going to be a little thing that tells you what to round to. Now, I love this. This is one of the reasons why we chose to use Khan Academy. We've been working on this all year. Round to the nearest. Now, in this particular section, we are going to be rounding to the nearest hundredth. That means 2 decimal places. So we're looking for something that looks like money. So I'm looking here. I've got 7.22, so that would be like 22 cents. Look at the next number. It's only a 1. So does that mean it stays at 7.22, or does it have push power and it bumps up to 7.23? You're right, the 1 is too small. It's less than 5. So this is going to stay 7.22. Now, if you made that a 3, Khan Academy is going to mark you wrong. Believe me, I made that mistake a couple times while I was doing your problems. So be careful with how you're gonna round. All right, so there's one thing you're gonna see. Let's look at another triangle now. This one gets a little trickier. So I'm gonna make the triangle a little trickier. Drawing is not my strength, people. Not my strength. I'm just gonna do the best I possibly can. All right, so here's my right angle. Let's call this one Sam. Okay, and let's say that my givens are 59 degrees in that angle. And let's say that we have this side length of 7. And now what you're gonna see in Khan Academy is you're gonna see a little question mark here. And what you are going to try to do is you are going to try to answer the question, what is side AM? Okay, now, to make us a little bit better, because, you know, we can be better, this is going to be opposite big S, so I'm going to make it little s, so I can do a little math with that. All right, so let's figure out what's going on here. Remember, we're keeping our eye on SOHCAHTOA. So here's my angle. My pieces that I've been given. I don't know anything about the opposite side. All right, well, I know I'm looking for my hypotenuse. And what piece is the 7? It's not opposite the angle. It is right next to the angle or adjacent. So I'm looking at A and H or K. So I'm looking for cosine. All right, time to set it up. So I've got cosine of my angle. All right, the angle I'm looking at is 59. Cosine of 59 is equal to, so now remember, I'm going adjacent piece, I already marked it, 7, divided by hypotenuse piece, which I'm going to call little s. Okay, so again, we have a similar situation here, except this time, s is buried in the denominator, which means we're going to have to undo that division first. We got to get the x up. Sorry, s up. So how do you undo division? Multiply both sides by s. Undoes. All right, bring it on down. So now I've got s times cosine of 59 equals 7. Doesn't it feel good to do math again? This is great. I miss you, but I love this. All right, we're still trying to figure out what s is. What is attached to s right now? Well, this whole number is attached to s. How do I undo that multiplying? Divide. Can you do that? Heck yeah, you can do that. Divide by cosine 59. Divide by cosine 59. That's just a nasty number. All right, so divides out. Now I'm left with s is equal to that expression. I need to go back to my handy dandy decimals. Zoom in a little bit so you can see. So we're going to try to do 7. So now I'm going 7 divided by cosine, remember back to funks, cosine 59. The cool thing is if I'm going too fast, just hit pause. So now I've got 13.59. Remember, rounding to the nearest hundredth, I'm looking at that like I'm looking at money, 59 cents. Do I bump it up to 60? I don't. So I've got 13.59 again. All right, see what you can do. So you're going to get 4 practice problems. There's going to be 2 that look like this one. So you'll have the variable on top. Then you're going to have 2 a little tougher where you have the variable on the bottom, but the process should be the same. Okay, little ones, you're looking at practice problem number 2. That is going to be the second set in your Khan Academy practice problems. Where did I put it? There it is. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to go to my trig, and this might already be in your assignment list. So we already did this one, Introduction to the Trig Ratios. Now we're doing solving for a side using the trig ratios. We're missing a side. So there's your intro. You already did that, hopefully. Now here's solving for a side. So there's your notes sheet. There's another video in case I didn't make any sense to you whatsoever. And there's your practice problems. Cool. In a couple days, we're going to move on to the next one, looking for an angle. All right. Good luck, you guys. Have fun. Don't forget to use your resources. Stay tuned.